For more exclusive content from CNBC Crypto Trader, hit the subscribe button now.
Crypto Trader is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more. Crypto Trader is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more.
Everyone was talking about the consensus pump. Well, we're in Singapore, it's consensus week, and there was a pump. So does that make it the Singapore consensus pump? This week here in Singapore, we're going to be asking some serious questions. Can the utility token survive this crypto winter? Can XRP keep the number 2 spot? And is the SEC's delay bringing us one step closer to a Bitcoin ETF? It's Singapore Blockchain Week. Let's go. So we're at Consensus 2018 here in Singapore, and it's a very interesting conference. What they've done is, instead of running a standalone blockchain conference, they've combined it with a telephony conference and an AI conference. You've got all the big names like Huawei and Verizon mixed up with blockchain names like BitGo, Kinetic, Genesis, and many other blockchain funds. Let's go take a look. So you've got Circle over here, the big name in industrial custodian solutions. And if you look over here, you've got OKEX, one of the biggest exchanges here in Asia. There seems to be a lot of action here around the Cool Wallet stand. These are the guys that gave away 5 wallets on CNBC Crypto Trader just a few weeks ago. And as we continue walking, you've got the representatives from MyEther wallet right over here. And of course, Bitfury, the big miners, right here. Speaking of mining, let's rewind to before the conference and head a few kilometers away to the big office park area of Singapore. So we're in Singapore, it's the beginning of Singapore Blockchain Week, and we're here to meet one of the biggest miners and funds in Singapore. It's a company called X². Join me, let's go take a look.
Hey man,
how you doing?
Welcome to Singapore.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Bridge at Accent. This is the up-and-coming blockchain co-working space in Singapore.
Is that a blockchain hub?
Yeah, there is Zilliqa here. There is Unchained, their parent company. New Global Capital is here. Of course, X², we are based here now. And today we are supporting Long Hash community event.
So what's happening here today?
So this is a pitch event that's organized by Empower. Empower is a community builder for Long Hash. Come and have a look.
We see a different share for each one as a return on interest for each one.
Pretty legit. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
So, running a blockchain business here in Singapore, is it an easy thing to do?
I think it's more straightforward than many other countries that we've been to. I mean, compared to the regions of America, you know, Europe is just waking up into this thing. As a business hub, Singapore has always been a little bit more open, and you know, ease of business here, I think we should be still number 1 globally. Yeah.
Let's talk about Singapore, because Singapore got a bit of a head start when it came to blockchain. What were the factors that created the head start?
I think a few things. One, definitely legal. Singapore's legal framework, while being seen as pretty rigid, it is actually clear. So the central bank last year, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, actually had a guideline for ICOs in that sense. Singapore has always been a little bit more laissez-faire, but at the same time, we have clear guidelines. There might not be laws in that sense.
But as we talk about guidelines today, does Singapore allow for ICOs? Is an ICO a legal process here in Singapore?
So there are clarity in securities, that's for sure. But the Singapore government, or I mean the Monetary Authority of Singapore, has never really, you know, clamped down on any ICO. They have won a few exchanges and a few projects that are a little bit more Ponzi-like, you know, pyramid scheme. But no, they have never been clamping down any ICOs thus far.
Is it easy to get a banking relationship where you can go from fiat onto crypto and then back onto fiat? Is that something that happens here?
I think the banks are a little bit more uptight. I have to be frank, you know. But for us and our friends who actually do come and work and open bank accounts here and all this, we have always been advising to be a little bit, you know, to be more transparent. because the banks are always afraid of their AML. It's not the KYC part, but the anti-money laundering fact when you open your bank account. So, your sources of funds and all this, just be a little bit more transparent to the bank to make them feel comfortable, because banking is always about relationships, and you'll be all right in Singapore.
And let's talk about projects that come out of Singapore. Singapore was an early stage hub for projects. What are the big projects that have come out of Singapore?
So Digix came out of Singapore. There was 10x, and of course the highly popular Kyber. So this was the 4 that actually came out just last summer.
You're actually wearing 2 hats. On the one hand, you're wearing a mining hat. On the other hand, you're wearing an investment hat.
Yep. And
I want to break those 2 up. From a mining point of view, are you guys still mining profitably? And are you mining here in Singapore?
We started mining here in Singapore, but of course we shifted a good part of our operations to our Southeast Asian neighbors, Indonesia, solely because Singapore's electricity is just not working out at this point. But when we shifted to Indonesia, that outlook looks much better in that sense.
So you're still mining a big operation. Mainly you're mining Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Zcash.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Zcash. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that's your mining operation. Let's talk about your fund. Are you guys still investing in this instrument called a utility token?
The short answer is yes, we are. And the justification is that the utility token, it needs to have certain network tractions. And what do I mean by that? You have a community of people, legit community, a genuine legit community that is actually supporting your project, where essentially your crypto economics that you have designed in your protocol basically drives the value because of usage in that sense.
Given that you knew where the top was, I'm going to have to ask you the logical next question. Do you think that we've hit the bottom now? Do you think that we can expect some kind of bounce, or do you think there's still more blood to come?
I just take a very simplistic view, maybe overly simplistic, and I don't think that we are near the end yet. Every 15-20% bump will be selling off, and generally the market, the graph will look like it's going down, because if you look at last year's parabolic increase, it will mirror the same down ramp in that sense. So it will still be some time flat before the market recovers again.
Zhuang, it's been such a pleasure to have you on our show, and we wish you the best of luck for this week at Consensus.
My honor.
Singapore Blockchain Week.
Thank you very much, Ray.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
And just a reminder that if you are enjoying this coverage, click the subscribe button now. From the Blockchain Hub, we sped down the highway along with the Lambo and right onto the F1 track downtown. We arrived just in time for race weekend, and as the race came to a close with Hamilton winning in thrilling fashion, we were hoping the market may be able to pick up some momentum. And right on track was a kickoff X² and hashed event at the Capitol Theatre with funds, founders, influencers, and some amazing projects on hand.
We're very privileged to have your thought leaders in the space. We have Prakash.
So I'm the head of acceleration at X².
Do you think this is a good place for blockchain companies to
So I think the biggest advantage that we have here is that the regulators, thank God to them, have been very encouraging. They won't impede innovation from taking place.
I think you're absolutely right, Prakash. In fact, I would have concurred to say that Singapore is quite forward-looking in terms of its approach to cryptocurrencies, its approach to blockchain technology.
After the Singapore scene was examined, there was a provocative discussion on the stage talking about the imminent Bitcoin ETF.
I really don't think that ETFs are good for Bitcoin on one side. I come from that traditional side of saying this is really meant for peer-to-peer. This is meant for individuals. This is meant to change the world we live in, full stop.
For the sake of healthy debate, I'll try and take a different argument. I think that there's definitely there's a lot of positivity in having an ETF which provides access to the Bitcoin price.
So I really do struggle personally. I don't have a crystal ball to assume when that would happen.
Everyone's very bullish that this is going to happen next quarter. I was very bullish at the start of this year that we were going to see an ETF. Now I'm not so confident.
Thank you to our panelists.
Thank you.
We'll all be around. Look forward to speaking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, it's good to
So
see
nice
you.
to see you.
Yeah,
Have
you
a seat.
too.
Maya, you've got some seriously feisty views as you've demonstrated on stage. So I really want to talk to you about 2 issues. Let's talk about the Bitcoin ETF. Do we really want a Bitcoin ETF?
I think if we ask some of the population in this space, right, in our crypto space, a lot of people would oppose ETFs, and they would oppose it strongly, right? They would say that Bitcoin is not meant for ETF. It does not need to be managed by current system or Wall Street. Now, if you ask some of our other friends in the space, they would say absolutely would bring stability. It would onboard a lot of people to maybe get more exposure to knowledge around Bitcoin, right? And I can see that, right? If suddenly general public would get an opportunity to invest in ETF, you get more people to learn about it. You get more people to know things about it.
What's your view? Where do you sit on the fence?
I don't think we need an ETF, right? I don't think necessarily ETFs bring liquidity. That's my point of view. Now, does institutional money need an ETF to come into the space? Probably. Can you get institutional money any other ways? We're doing it. I think other people will be doing it as well.
How else do you get the institutional money in without an ETF in the absence of custodian solutions that they really trust? Institutions don't know how to manage crypto today.
I mean, look, most of the banks today are hiring teams of people to learn about this new asset class. This asset class is not going away. Currently, they are not probably able to onboard, right, unless there is some kind of a product like ETF. Options could be a way, right?
Do you think we'll see an ETF before the end of the year?
No.
Why not?
Traditional institutions need time to learn. This is not just the decision of one person, let's say an SEC in the US or an equivalent somewhere else, be it here in Singapore or other places. Folks need time to learn, Ran. I think it's really important that this goes through committees. It goes through, right? SEC will probably check with their counterpart somewhere else. It needs to go through various different organizations before it gets an approval. I don't see that happening by the end of this year. Simple fact of human lack of ability. We're such linear learners, right? And this technology is exponential. I think there's a complete disbalance here.
Maya's strong-held remarks set the stage for an interesting week at Consensus.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
But first, let's enjoy the Singapore skyline by night.
You are patient. Deep down, you know that success takes time. Just imagine Da Vinci trying to paint the Mona Lisa in a week. Or Bill Gates developing Windows in a month. So, take this approach to the financial markets and join eToro. Get the tools to execute smarter, more informed investment decisions. Build a portfolio to last, one brick at a time. Start now at eToro.com.
So we're at Consensus here in Singapore. So over here you have the AI part. On this side you have the telephony part powered by 5G technology. And right in front of me you've got the blockchain part with all the big names in blockchain, including Grayscale, which is part of the digital currency group. So what brings you guys to Singapore?
So we've started to see a lot more interest from institutional investors in Asia, and have been spending about the last 2 weeks sort of touring around Asia meeting with investors.
Now, every time I speak to you, tell me that more funds are investing and more money's coming in. Is that still the case in this kind of market?
It is. We've talked about this throughout this year as prices have come down. We've started to see capital inflows actually increase.
Even now?
Absolutely. I think a lot of our investors are continuing to average into their investments and are looking at the price action as a good time for them to get involved.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ran.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
You've got some of the other big names in cryptocurrency here, like BitGo, which just announced their big institutional custody solution. And of course you've got the funds. You've got Coinatex, you've got Circle, the over-the-counter, and of course you've got a very busy stand here at Kinetic. We're going to go in and see if we can get hold of Jihan, the founder of Kinetic. Jihan, you've been traveling all around the world, going to conferences. We're here in Singapore in the middle of a bear market. What's the mood like?
The mood is actually quite optimistic. I'm finding that a lot of people are still quite interested in looking at projects, especially following great founders. I think that from a development and overall kind of traction standpoint, we're still seeing a lot of progress. We're still seeing a lot of companies building. And I think what's most encouraging is actually enterprise, governments, and even central banks are starting to take larger positions and take more aggressive kind of building stances. So that's great.
As I walk around here, I see there are a lot less ICOs than there used to be at these conferences. Do you think that a lot of the not so solid ICOs have kind of left the field?
I do. I think that the kind of projects who perhaps didn't have strong business models and were perhaps maybe a little bit too focused on the tech and not focused enough on kind of customer adoption and the real fundamentals of how to build a business may have gotten washed out or may be hurting at the moment and licking their wounds.
Are you still bullish on this instrument called a utility token in its current form?
So, utility tokens remain important. They represent a new way of thinking about models of value, and it will persist, but it will have to prove itself. In the meantime, NFTs, I think, provide really short-term kind of value propositions in gaming, and security tokens from companies like SharesPost, which has a regulated platform to trade security tokens, will really be some of the first movers in this space.
John, thank you very much. It's always good to speak to you.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you. And now I think it's time that we go and speak to OSL, one of the biggest over-the-counter players here in Asia. Because you won a panel the other day and you mentioned that you don't believe an ETF is coming anytime soon.
Oh, I don't know if I said it anytime soon. I think probably, if we talk about OSL first. So OSL is a Hong Kong mainboard listed company. We're Asia's leading digital asset brokerage firm, so we facilitate very large buy and sell transactions in crypto. Talking about ETFs, I think I was definitely bullish at the start of this year. I think I went on record by saying we would see an ETF in 2018. I probably have a bit of egg on my face right now.
If you've got egg on your face, I've got a full omelette.
Okay, fair enough. That makes me feel better. It's interesting around the ETFs. We see the SEC have continually kicked the decision-making process of the ETF down the road. And I think we're probably going to see the last of these decisions made next March, or at least in the first quarter of next year. One of the reasons why the SEC has denied these ETFs in the past is because there hasn't been qualified exchange rules on the venues where people trade Bitcoin that stop manipulation and fraudulent transactions. And one of the things the SEC said is there isn't quality exchange venues yet.
But how long can they keep denying it for? When BAC comes on, that's a reputable player behind it.
Yeah.
You've got a real custodian solutions being built. At some point, the SEC has to give in and say, look, it's not the traditional instrument that we know, but like gold and oil, they are traded all around the world at different hours, and we now have to approve the ETF.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've said a number of times this week is that this is an asset class which people are acknowledging the fact it's not going away. And that was the same view for a lot of the banks and the financial institutions that we see coming into this space. But now, I know personally behind the scenes, they're gearing up to get ready.
Okay, so are we going to get an ETF before the end of the year? Yes or no?
No.
Not before the end of the year?
No. I've changed my views. I think I went on. I was on CNBC, in fact, in March, and I was very bullish about the ETF.
I'm trying to clean some egg off your face.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move to another thing, and that's OTC, over-the-counter trade. And what kind of volumes are you guys doing in the month?
In terms of volumes, we run, our monthly USD is in the billions of volume.
And who's your typical client? Is it an individual, a whale with a lot of cash?
That's a good question, Ran. Our typical demographics at OSL are ultra-high net worth individuals, funds, family offices, asset managers, private banks, typical corporates, and I can gladly say that we're actually working with a number of tier one investment banks. Still early days, but that's what I mean by my comment earlier. Behind the scenes, the traditional financial institutions are gearing up.
Is it solved? Is there a custodian that an institution, a bank can use today?
So we don't have a State Street or a Standard Chartered of crypto custodians yet. I wouldn't be surprised if next year, I'll go on record and make another prediction. I think that piece is going to be solved.
Dave, it's been a great pleasure chatting to you. Great insight. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Now let's cross over to our CNBC Crypto Trader contributor, Agadana Mary, to hear what the sentiment is on the floor at Consensus.
So we're on the floor at Consensus. Let's talk to people about the market. Hi guys, what do you feel about the market?
Yeah, the prices are not so good at the moment, but
it's a maturation of the market. It's ultimately what's happening.
I agree.
So you're not concerned?
Not at all. Zero concern.
What do you think about the market?
The market, that's a tough question.
The market has been pretty depressing recently. What's your take?
I don't really care. Markets go up, markets go down.
Where do you think the market is going?
I think we're at a time where we're seeing a stabilization rather than just hype.
What do you think of the market?
I think the market's in a bear market, and I think it's going to last for the next 12 months.
Where do you think we're going?
I think the long-term viability of the technology is a really different proposition to the short-term trends in the market.
Oh, you mean the bear market?
I mean the bear market.
Yeah, I think it's a great time to continue investing, getting ready for the bull market.
I think we'll have at least one other bull run by the end of this year. It's coming.
Where do you see the market going?
I'm actually very bullish on the market in the short term. I think Q4 we're going to see a large uptick in market movement, in volume, in Bitcoin price, and the overall altcoin markets rising significantly.
What would drive that upwards trend?
There are many catalysts, but I think that the goal of every investor should be trying to find the needle in the haystack coin. The coin that is currently undervalued given the market conditions. Currently, I have two favorite projects. My own personal project, Anin, which obviously I'm a lover of, while masternodes are earning a great return. So I love Anin and I love INS. I do think Bitcoin will produce great returns in the next 2 to 3 months, but I think if you look for the more needle in the haystack coins, you'll have a better return.
Curious what you think, where you think the market is going.
I have a lot more confidence in Bitcoin than I do in some of the other tokens. I've said publicly very recently that I do think the 6,000 price level for Bitcoin will hold. So I'm confident that we'll actually be more likely to see 10,000 Bitcoin than 5,000 Bitcoin.
What are you mainly investing in these days?
Projects like Oasis, we looked at security projects like Certic. We are also looking at dApps, projects that can bring real users to blockchain.
How are you trading the market currently?
Holding onto the coins that we really believe in, and even slowly accumulating during this kind of low phase.
Some people say market has hit rock bottom, and some say that we haven't seen the worst yet.
All I can say is that we recently purchased Ether. There's a price memory. There's a tendency to revert to the mean.
This is the first time I'm hearing during consensus that somebody's bullish on Ether.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm definitely buying in now.
So we're talking to Crypto Dino. I'm very interested to know what he thinks of the market.
His favorite subject is actually AI and blockchain.
So here at Consensus, talking to people, we get the sense that most of them are pretty excited about the market, despite the bearish conditions.
Let's get a take from a crypto expert on ICOs, utility tokens, and of course security tokens. His name is Stan Miroshnik, and he's the founder and CEO of the Elements Group. Full disclosure, they are one of CryptoTrader's first sponsors. Stan, are the ICOs actually raising money today?
You know, it's certainly a different environment. I think the big debate is whether we're near or past the capitulation stage, but it still feels like what in traditional capital markets is a very hard fundraising environment. And so I think we're still seeing a lot of companies out there issuing, but I think the investors have certainly kind of pulled back to wait and see what rises to the top, but also to work through their existing portfolio and the rapid investment pace they've done over the last year and a half. People are smarter about not just buying a token, but they have a view on what's happening in digital identity, what's happening in distributed storage, what's happening in distributed healthcare.
I mean, is there money for good projects out there, specifically in utility tokens?
Yes, so I think the answer is yes, and it's now a much more discriminating set of investors, right? And so the fast money of last year and early 2018 is not here anymore. It's taken a significant hit. What we have is new money from thesis-driven investors. We have corporates that are now actively considering projects that are building real ecosystems. And so the investor types are shifting, but certainly interesting new money is coming into the market.
Do you think that this may be the death of the utility token?
No, absolutely no. I completely disagree. I think utility token is such a powerful model. I think we should abstract from utility because it could be a product, a commodity, a currency, right? And so tokens themselves, not only as a programmatic mechanism, but as an incentive mechanism, are such a powerful model that it's here to stay.
It sounds like you say this is just the beginning of the utility token, and whereas we probably have to tweak some of the things we did last year, there's a long road ahead for utility tokens.
And especially in an instance where the token wasn't used for fundraising. So now we're talking about dual token models, we're talking about tokens that are issued in lieu of corporate loyalty points, airline miles, bringing those things to distributed platform, distributed governance. That's incredibly powerful.
So let's talk about securities tokens.
Yeah.
Are they coming?
You know, for some reason in this industry, I'm known as a bit of a skeptic on security tokens. I'm not. And at Element, we have a broker-dealer structure. We're totally geared up for it, and I really want it to happen. We just haven't seen buyers yet, right? At some point, we'll see some combination of Templum and T0 and Open Finance and SharesPost come into this market and prove that there's liquidity in security tokens. That said, if you look out in the medium term, let's say 12 to 24 months, there's a strong argument for traditional asset classes to become available in tokenized forms. So I think there's a big story out there in the medium term that validates the security token thesis.
The security token thesis. Let's find out what investors on the floor think.
We're hearing a lot about security tokens.
Yeah, I think security tokens have a big place in this market.
Security tokens are another way we can make some money, but I think initially the biggest impact on society is going to be through the permissionless blockchains.
Security tokens are huge.
Security tokens will have its day in the sun, I guess.
So, having his day in the sun is the founder of SharesPost, the security token exchange that's about to go live. So the big wave that everyone's talking about, securities tokens. I've heard so much about it in 2018 and I look around and yet I don't see an exchange that's live today. I have seen very, very few securities tokens issued on the blockchain. Why? Where is everyone?
Sure. The excitement behind security tokens is hope for a whole investment class of institutions to come over and invest in crypto and blockchain-like products. For that to happen, you need 3 or 4 things in terms of infrastructure to be built. One is custody for institutions to join. The other is proper primary issuances of these tokens or tokenization of something. And then the third is a marketplace for these tokens to actually trade. That's what we at SharesPost are doing. We're creating a secondary marketplace for security tokens to land and trade after they've been issued in the proper way. In addition, we're also using what we call our GLASS network, Global Liquidity and Settlement Solution, to incentivize various other settlement providers into a network to create an outsourced functionality for exchanges around the world to allow their trades to settle in a compliant way.
So what you're saying is you're actually building the base layer, which you're going to use yourself, but everybody else can also use if they so wish to use. And the more people that use it, the better the protocol is.
That's exactly right. And I think in 2018, a lot of this is being built by various players, including ourselves. And 2019, the promises we saw or wished to have in 2017 and 18 will come to fruition.
Now, the securities token that everyone's talking about, what platform is that securities token actually issued on? Is it an ERC? Is it an Ethereum-based ERC token?
Well, that's a great question because right now I think most people are building on ERC-20. However, it can be on any one of these protocols, and we will find out shortly in the next year or two which one becomes more of the standard.
Would you list your company on the NASDAQ using traditional equity today, or would you do a securities token issue?
You can actually do both at some point. You can have an issuance on the NASDAQ, but your tokenization could be in a very compliant security form so that it can also trade internationally on proper equivalents of ATSs around the world.
And do you see that that's the way that it'll go, that people will initially start with a dual listing model until eventually we actually don't?
Sorry to cut you off. No, I don't think that'll be the first, but I'm just saying that is a possibility. I think initially it's going to be smaller, not $500 million revenue companies, and they're going to test the global access to liquidity. And then eventually there will be larger companies that say, wow, I can have it on the NASDAQ or American Stock Exchange and do this to see how global reaction will be.
When can we expect a real securities token exchange to be live?
Well, at SharesPost, our marketplace in the US will be live within the next month and a half.
And when are you expecting T0 to be live?
Not sure.
Any guesses?
I think probably after ours.
So that's the story. Utility tokens may or may not survive, but security tokens definitely are the next big thing. If you're watching us on YouTube, now would be a great time to hit the subscribe button. The next big crypto skirmish is not between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, but this time it's between Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Cash. Their lead dev is here to explain. Now it seems we're going to talk about Bitcoin Cash bashing Bitcoin Cash. Amoy, what's going on at Bitcoin Cash?
So a lot, but what is on everybody's mind right now is that, so there is an upgrade that is coming in November, and about a month ago there is a company that announced that they wanted to change the plan for the upgrade that is in 2 months.
So you're a Bitcoin Cash core developer. Who are the two camps?
So there is the camps with mostly N-Chain and CoinGeek, where they want to change the roadmap to do something else.
Okay, hold on. So the camp that is wanting to change the roadmap that was agreed on is Craig Wright and CoinGeek.
Yes.
Okay. The camp that doesn't want to do it, who's in that camp?
So Bitcoin ABC is in that camp, which is the main implementation of Bitcoin Cash at the moment. Roger, like Roger over Bitcoin.com, Jianhu, Haipoyang from via BTC and CoinEx. most of the people that actually got Bitcoin Cash
So you
started
got
are
Craig Wright on the one side,
yeah.
Wu Jihan, Roger Ver, and a whole lot of other people on the other side.
Yeah, Hypo, John Alfubel, like all the OG of Bitcoin Cash.
So what happens if they can't agree? We're going to get to November. November's very close.
But the software is not ready, it's not released. They have no public testnet yet. There are various pieces of their infrastructure that are not set up yet, so their mining pool is not running yet, for instance. It doesn't look like they're ready at all, like, to be honest. So I'm not quite sure that they're going to be able to get the traction required to make anything happen in 2 months.
Is there a risk of a fork?
Honestly, I think the risk is very small because I don't think they want a fork. Like, they are going to find themselves with that chain. There is going to be a fork of BCH that nobody really asked for except them. Except that they're going to mine it, and when you mine, you have a lot of cost, and you need to be able to sell the new coins that are in the block that you mine to, like, recoup your cost. And because they have a lot of hash rate, it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to do so profitably, right? So they're going to find themselves in a position where they have to maintain this minority chain that nobody asked for, and it's just going to be a burden for them. So I don't think they want that.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on Bitcoin Cash, and hopefully they can keep the boat floating. Thank you very much for coming on Crypto Trader.
Thank you.
So, seems there is a bit of disagreement or maybe some trouble at Bitcoin Cash. I guess we'll have to wait for November to find out. From one long-haired hippie to another long-haired hippie, stay tuned. Now remember, there's an AI element to this conference, a big topic around big data. Ben, the last time we met, we had Sophia around us, and she was talking to me, and we were having a whole lot of laughs. How is Sophia?
Sophia's great. She's getting smarter every day. So we're doing a lot of work aimed at enhancing her thinking ability using OpenCog AI engine and the SingularityNET platform.
How's it going at SingularityNET? And for our viewers who don't remember, just remind us what SingularityNET actually does.
SingularityNET is a blockchain-based platform for AI. So it's a decentralized AI network, sort of like an app store for AIs that lives decentralized on the blockchain, where AIs in the AI network can provide services to customers, but also provide services to each other.
So, if I understand correctly, for AI to work, AI needs a lot of data, or it needs to rely on other AI who have a lot of data and been trained with a lot of data. Are you saying that using SingularityNET, effectively different AIs can plug into each other and tap into each other's resources and reward each other with tokens?
Absolutely. Yes, a blockchain-based platform can suck in more and more data and compensate people with tokens for contribution of their data to the AI. So more data, more processing power, more contributors of AI to the network, more people using the network for more different applications, and more collaboration and cross-pollination between the different AIs in the network. And I mean, this is how you get a democratic, participatory, super intelligent,
which is decentralized.
Brain.
Which is decentralized. So when we last met, people looked at you like you were this crazy hippie with these ridiculous ideas to change the world using the blockchain. How close are we to that actually being a reality?
Well, I'm still a crazy hippie.
Nothing's going to change.
Yeah, I've still got a lot of wild ideas, but now we have a large engineering team who is working on realizing the vision. So I think this year has been mostly about building, and next year, 2019, is going to be about building our community. We're going to launch the platform early next year. At latest, we'll be launching bits and pieces of it this fall. The goal is to basically take AI away from governments and big corporations and put AI in the hands of everyone. As we move towards superintelligence, the superintelligence is reflecting the goals, needs, and values of everybody.
Ben, it's such a pleasure having you on Crypto Trader. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let's check out Singapore. From above, you see it surrounds the bay. And surrounding Consensus, there were various satellite events, like Kinetic's event here at the Park Royal. Thought leaders and even Coinbase execs were talking about the future of crypto.
I think that this is really our crucible as an industry. This is our time that will really define who we are, what we're trying to do, and how we do it.
So Coinbase, as a crypto-first company, really believes that to grow the space ultimately, we really need to foster utility and true usage and adoption. And that means we're looking at things such as non-fungible tokens, stable coins, decentralized exchanges. We're building out a Coinbase wallet to make it easier for anyone, not just a crypto enthusiast, to browse and use all these different applications.
Across the bridge at the historic Fullerton, the China-based crypto fund BlockEC held an event where we managed to catch up with their top trader and strategist. We also introduce you to our new crypto trader contributor focused on Asia. Kira, you work for one of the top VCs in China, BlockEC. Are you guys still investing?
Yeah, we still be investing because we think the bearish market could not stop us from investing into the future.
And so give me some examples of projects which have excited you, which you guys have invested in.
Yeah, the best projects, I think we have invited them all come here to today, like the Phantom, Kucoin, and Multivac.
Phantom, Kucoin, and Multivac.
Multivac, yeah.
Do you think that we've reached the bottom of the bear market?
I think it depends on how you understand the market structure. We think for Bitcoin itself, it has reached the bottom, but for the other cryptocurrencies, it's far from that. We think the bearish market is going to be lasting for more than 200 days for cryptocurrency other than Bitcoin. But for Bitcoin itself, I think it has reached a reasonable price range.
And what makes you say that? Because that's quite a big statement.
We observe from the Bitcoin a blockchain network. We observe the transaction on the blockchain network. We calculate the net transaction value of Bitcoin. We think the Bitcoin price has no bubble now.
So now you're saying Bitcoin is actually fairly priced, not only on sentiment analysis, but also on actual fundamental analysis, which is the transactions taking place in the blockchain.
Yes, but considering the total trend of the market, the Bitcoin may still face a little bit of downward pressure, but I think most mature investor could endure that. That's from our another research. We calculate the entire 4 cycles of the Bitcoin history and the cryptocurrency history. It's totally symmetrical from the downward period and upward period. I think the downward period we have already faced more than 200 days. So as to the symmetrical timeline, we still have another 200 days to go.
Okay, so for our viewers who are sitting at home watching this, would you recommend that they take all their tokens today, convert them into Bitcoin, wait 200 days, and then start investing in utility tokens?
Yeah, if you ask me as a very professional portfolio manager, I would suggest you to transfer your ETH into a diversified portfolio consisting more than 5 components like the Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, EOS. You have to build a very diversified portfolio to mitigate the risk and to provide downward risk protection for yourself. It doesn't mean you go radical, you turn all your Ethereum into USDT, or you change your Ethereum into Bitcoin. That's not the most effective way, I think.
That's some very good insight, and we're actually going to be speaking to Bigogo next. Thank you very much for coming on Crypto Trader.
Thank you.
So for more coverage from Singapore, I've got Ciara Sun, and she's the Chief Strategy Officer of the Bigogo Exchange. Ciara is going to be helping me cover consensus and all things Singapore. Ciara, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, and stay tuned for more Crypto Trader.
Next, it was back to consensus and time to talk China with Ciara.
Hello everyone, this is Ciara Sun, and we're here today on the floor of Consensus. And here with us we have Emma and Kai, both co-founders from leading Chinese projects. And we're going to talk about how the Chinese market is really doing, and here's reality on the ground. Emma?
I think overall the Chinese market, although there's a lot of regulatory risk because the government is trying to find the best way to regulate the market, I think in general for the entire market is actually a healthy approach because it kind of to eliminate most of the scam project out of the way and allowing the chance of the better projects actually can bring true value to the market.
And Kai, what do you think?
I think for nowadays, it's bear markets, but I think more and more people want to involve in these markets.
I think Chinese people definitely are playing an important role in the crypto market, overall in the crypto market. But I think the government needs to have its way to construct a healthy market. But this is definitely not like the entire market gonna crash because the government is spending anything. that simple.
Yeah, I can agree more. The whole market needs to be regulated but not banned. As a co-founder of a public chain, how do you think you can contribute to the whole Chinese crypto market?
Actually, the Chinese government is supporting the blockchain technology. What they are trying to regulate is the crypto market for only the financial play and for the people like the scams only having the white paper, but for people like us and pushing the real value and to bring the good business scenarios to improve by the blockchain technology is supported by Chinese government.
Right, the government is only trying to protect the average users and traders.
So we just want the globe to see that although we're still a developing country, but there is definitely a lot of advantages and good people in China that you should look carefully about.
Very good point. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more Crypto Trader.
That's the view from China. Now Agadir has an interesting project in the spotlight.
So we continue our journey through the Singaporean blockchain scene here with Perlin. And Perlin is one of the most talked about projects in the world, actually. Tell me about it.
So we're really addressing the next billion users. What we see as the hugest opportunity, the killer app, is income. So what do you do for the people, the billion people who are on $1 a day? Well, if you can help them earn money, and the way we do that is they plug their phones in or their laptops in to our ledger. We create a marketplace. They can rent or sell their compute. It's kind of like Airbnb for your compute on your mobile phone, and they can earn $20, $50, $100 passively at nighttime. So it really is now an exciting time. We've signed an MOU with the Indian government. We just signed today with Telkomsel, which is 180 million users in Indonesia.
Congratulations.
And we really want to bring the next billion users on stream.
Tell me a little bit about your raise. You know, we're at a difficult point in time in the market.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your capital raise and your
It
plans.
is the best thing that could happen to us, honestly.
Is it?
Yeah, as a high quality
Listen
project.
to this, the best thing that could happen to us is the bear market.
So basically, the best projects always come out of the bear markets. Ethereum came out of a bear market. Google came out of a bear market. We definitely see that. So we were the highest rated project on a big website called Crypto Briefing. We got 96%. We were inundated with 3,000 investor emails. We were 30x oversubscribed. The beauty of today is with the quieting market, we can focus on getting work done. So our technical work has been steaming ahead. We're just releasing our testnet. There's a whole bunch of work that can be done.
Interesting. So you're planning your crowd sale for when market stabilizes?
If the market cap stays around the 200 mark and then comes up a little bit more to 230, that's when we see the upward trajectory, and that's when I think there'll be a lot of confidence in quality projects. And yeah, we really see in the next 2 months, we expect to rally, and at that point I think a public sale makes a lot of sense.
So you've been very successful in your capital raise. As you mentioned before, you were 30 times oversubscribed.
We've been working on this now since December last year. This is my 4th project in the crypto space. I've been here since 2014. Right now, AWS, Google Cloud Compute is a $300 billion market. If we can get 1% of that to decentralize, we're redirecting $3 billion to $5 billion to developing economies. And that's where I think with a fixed supply of around 1 billion tokens, you can clearly see that the token value is far, far, far superior to what we're currently marketing it at. So it's really just looking at, is the sector the right sector? Is the token economics right? And does it represent real value? And we really do represent utility value.
Thank you very much.
No problems, thank you.
Pleasure.
Welcome to Singapore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're behind the scenes here at Crypto Trader at Consensus. Ron is often talking to the big names. Agadir is talking market sentiment on the floor. We're looking for blockchain use cases, but you can't get out in the field. So the projects come to you. We found an amazing project, Sentinel Chain, that's helping farmers in rural villages. We're talking to Roy. Roy, how's it going, buddy?
Hi, Adrian. How are you doing? Thank you.
So talk to us about Sentinel Chain, and you're tagging livestock to help farmers enjoy the benefits of blockchain, yeah?
Yes, that's right. So what we're doing is, by doing so, we allow the farmers to make use of their livestock and formalizing it as a form of asset that they can use to collateralize it for loans.
So you're in Myanmar. What's the relationship with the government in Myanmar? Obviously, there's a lot of controversy embroiled behind them, yet they're open and receptive.
Ultimately, it is about the people, the welfare to the people. because for the last 30 years, Myanmar was unable to create livestock insurance.
So ultimately, then they're benefiting by being able to leverage their assets, being the cattle, because they can prove it on a ledger for loans.
That's right, because more than 80% of the farmers are without bank accounts.
Now, again, we can't break away from the conference and be in the field, and we can't travel to Myanmar from Singapore right away on a moment's notice. So walk us through what we're seeing. We're going to cue this up for the viewers as well, so you can see the process.
So in the beginning, we will have to first allow the farm owners, right, to register their identity. Now, the identity is not verified.
So it's like a KYC process for the farmers, customers.
That's right, because you need to have a third party to verify he is who he is. Right. So the information that he enters for the cattle could include the breed, the colors, the birthmarks, right, so that there are some visual cues to it.
So next, we have all the information on the cattle, the farmer, and now it gets cross-referenced onto the blockchain, and the insurance agent
will do the verification. That's right. Via the QR code that you've seen earlier, you retrieve the information, right? And it is at this point in time when he verifies the information to be correct. And the final step, right, is to combine the policy to the physical tag itself using the phone's NFC function.
So here's the actual tagging process. So now a cattle is affixed with an RFID. How are farmers being receptive to this, and is it making a difference? Is it making an impact?
It is, because right now the farmers are able to prove that from his phone, right, he can verify that the cow belongs to him, and it also makes sure that the farmer who has the cattle vaccinated, right, are protected.
Yeah, we've long heard that Southeast Asia should be one of the big testing grounds for blockchain.
That's right.
And you're seeing it work?
I see that there's a lot of potential for Southeast Asia to leapfrog, right, the existing technologies, right, and take advantage of blockchain to solve their immediate problems.
I'm concerned with people on the ground using blockchain, and this is evidence, yeah?
That's right, that's right. Blockchain is a grassroots technology, and it needs to be used by the grassroots in order to maximize its value.
Exactly. Luckily, you've got the evidence and the proof to show that this is happening.
Thank you, yes.
So there you have it. Blockchain in use on the ground in Myanmar, coming to you from Singapore. For more information, go to sentinel-chain.org.
So that's our look at consensus and our ever-growing look at blockchain use cases. Now it's time to head back to the city and take a look at one of the biggest projects to come out of Singapore, Kyber Network. So looking for projects that are building here in Singapore, we had to come past the offices of Kyber Network, especially after the news that they just integrated into Ethermon. I want to find out how many users they've actually got and whether their network is actually being used. Let's go have a look. Hey, how are you?
Thanks for coming.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Loy, I think a trip to Singapore wouldn't be complete without coming here to see Kyber Network. You guys were one of the biggest ICOs out of Singapore, is that right?
Yeah, so I think we were one of the most popular one. Yeah, thanks to the community who always support us.
And how much did you raise?
We raised 200,000 Ether back then. So the valuation was around 52 millions. And half of it was to spend on, to provide the liquidity on the platform.
Now let's talk about Kyber. And what does Kyber actually do?
So what we do is we build an on-chain liquidity protocol to allow decentralized token swap to happen on basically everywhere, on website, on wallet, and even on the smart contract.
And the token swaps that you guys allow, you allow token swaps specifically on the Ethereum network. So token swaps between one ERC20 and another ERC20, is that right?
Right, exactly. But we are working on solution to bring other coins on Ethereum network as well. So in the near future, you will see Bitcoin and a few popular coins on Ethereum.
Now, the use cases for these token trades, I mean, obviously decentralized exchanges and peer-to-peer token swaps must be one kind of use case, but what are the other kind of use cases for people on this protocol?
Right, I mean, the most obvious use case is to allow the users to convert from one token to a different one, right, within their own wallet, like ARM token or MyEther wallet. This wallet already integrated with Kyber. So we are pushing the other use cases like, decentralized payment, like, we just integrated with Ethereum. So the most popular game on Ethereum, so that their users can actually pay for the monster from any ERC20 tokens. So this is actually one of the monsters that they are releasing soon. This is like the mascot of Kyber.
How much would they pay for a monster like that?
They haven't released the price yet, but it should be around like 0.5 or 0.3 Ether,
Okay.
if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Now, as someone that's building, I mean, you guys are the real builders. You know, there's a certain section of the market which are speculators, and they're trading on the price of ETH and Bitcoin. And there's people like you that are building. Do you look at the markets every day and worry about the price of ETH and, you know, maybe even the price of Kyber Network? Or are you guys in like heads down mode?
Yeah, so I think we do like, you know, look at the price like sometimes, right? Like, you know, when our friends like send us a message, hey, you know, Ether increases like 20% today, for example, then I have like to look at and see like what's going on, right? But really we just like, you know, focus 100% on building this stuff and to grow the ecosystem around Kyber and around like, you know, Ethereum in general.
Now, you raised a big number of ETH. You raised 200,000 ETH. Now, 100,000 ETH went for liquidity on the protocol, which is money that went aside. But that leaves you with another 100,000 ETH.
Right.
One of the concerns that people have, or one of the questions that people have for ICOs that raise money is whether they liquidated their ETH or whether they kept their ETH in ETH. Are you one of the tokens that kept your ETH in ETH and you're holding ETH and spending every month? Or did you cash out your ETH into US dollars?
Right, so the nice thing about Ethereum and blockchain in general is that people can track, right? Like whether we have liquidated our, Ether raise yet. So we actually, convert enough so that we can have, 1 or 2 year runway, and the rest we keep in Ether, so people can actually just go to Etherscan or any like blockchain explorer to see it.
So how many ETH are you still holding of the 100,000?
So we still have around 80,000.
I'm trying to get a behind the scenes look into what happens inside the offices of people that are building. And, you know, from the outside, when people look at offices of people that are building, we don't know whether the mentality is to hold the ETH or to sell the ETH. Do you sit here in your office and have meetings with your fellow founders and maybe core developers and discuss whether or not you should be liquidating the ETH and not risking the future of the runway of the business?
So I mean, we have been in this space for a long time, right? So we have seen like all the up and down. So that's why we decided like to, cash out so that we can have enough like funding to run for the next couple of years. And the rest we decided like to keep in Ether because I think we are super committed in this space and we believe in the future of this space.
Does it worry you? Are you demotivated?
I mean, as I said, right, I have been in this space like for 5 years. I got a PhD in computer science, like doing research on blockchain and cryptocurrency. So I have seen like this market several times.
So the builders are building and the long-term players aren't going anywhere.
Right.
It's been a great pleasure having you on Crypto Trader. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So that was Singapore Blockchain Week. And as our ever-growing team at Crypto Trader has found, where sentiment may be down, building is on the rise, and Singapore is one hell of a blockchain hub. Next week, I'll be back in studio in Johannesburg. Until then, I'll be on Twitter at CryptoManRun, and you should trade well, my friends.
Crypto Trader is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more.